Hi everyone, my name is Dharshana De Silva. I currently hold the position of Assistant Group General Manager for Prima Group and the Deputy General Manager for Prima Ceylon. I am also sitting on a few advisory committees for the government, as well as I sit as the Governor and Director for the Institute of Indian Auditors. I've certainly had the fortune of being an international speaker and spoken and represented Sri Lanka in 26 countries. Well, it doesn't matter if you're a high-ranking executive or even consider one. I think humility plays a big role in managing image. Let me take you back to when I was 16, to an incident that really shaped the way I look at life. I was a 16-year-old boy who had an acute case of asthma and knocked myself unconscious. And when I was in hospital, when I gained consciousness, there was an old homeless man next to me. He was in his dying hours, and something he said at that bed changed the way I looked at life. What he said was, "Son, when you look back at life at my age, and you know it's your last hour, you mainly tend to focus on the things you couldn't do and regret the things you couldn't do rather than the things you did." So this took me many years to truly understand the meaning and how I apply it to my life. So when we talk about image, it's good to reflect that we are all running the same race sometimes. We're all looking at ambitious targets, we're looking at achieving certain goals in our own life. But at the end of the day, what is it all for? The reason I shared that story is it has a lot to do with how we set our minds. And from that story, what I learned is I stopped looking at people for their titles, for their achievements, for what they've achieved in life, for their goals, but looked at how they treat people regardless of those achievements. And once we have this mindset, the pressure of holding an image becomes less and less more important. And you tend to be yourself, and that way people see truly who you are as well. Well, not just as a leader, but every one of us has to make tough choices. And some of these tough choices are what really define our career. And we have to be quite fortunate to face sometimes these struggles, because that's where the learning really happens. So I don't tend to focus too much about the hard choices or the tough situations that I face. I mostly focus on facing that situation with integrity and making a choice that's best for that situation under those circumstances. I think corporate burnout and stress is a very, very common topic these days, and it's faced by many. I think we are to blame when it comes to corporate burnout, because we are either stuck in a job that we don't like, or with a boss we can't work with, or with people we don't want to surround ourselves with. My advice is never complain and stay in the same place. If you're not happy, then you got to make good. You got to figure out if that place is for you. To be honest, at Prima, I find a good work-life balance. And as a senior executive, I try to embed this culture into our workforce and make sure that everyone has a good work-life balance at Prima. Because health is everything. Without health, you have nothing. So personally, for myself, I love traveling, spending time with my families, cooking, and I prioritize these as much as I prioritize my meetings and my work objectives. I have traveled to almost 53 countries in the last few decades, and I have never made an excuse not to do what I like. Because the more I'm happy at my personal life, the more I can deliver in my work life. So what's your excuse? For staying competitive, innovation is a must. And when I refer to innovation, it does not necessarily mean technological. And if I were to share an example of strategic innovation, I could reflect back to the rail project that Prima started in 2017. This project was primarily focused on getting freight rail services back on rail. And the success of this is now a role model for many other companies to follow. And the impact of this project has not just merely been as a corporate, but as a country going forward. And for Sri Lanka Railways, I think the development of freight service is a very important aspect. Navigating ambition and humility. Well, you've got to eradicate hatred and jealousy. The earlier you understand negative impact of these two aspects in life, until you learn how to be more humane. Another way I'd like to look at this is fast forwarding 150 years from now. Everyone we know, everything we own, our houses that we lived in will be with strangers. Our photographs, our memories, what we did, how much of it would be remembered and by who? Okay, now let's get back to the same question again. Let's not compromise humility over ambitions. Yes, our ambitions are important, but let's not compromise the good, true friendships that we're going to build along the way, the respect we're going to earn, and the smiles we're going to put on people's faces. Personally, I tend to admire traits of people who show humbleness regardless of what they've achieved or their positions. And I treat them and admire them based on how they respect and interact with others. When it comes to ambition, I found myself lately not so focused on my own ambitions, but been focusing more on the ambitions of the people around me and motivating them to achieve their own goals. I found this to be far more fulfilling at the moment, and I also admire people who have achieved many greats but are still very humble about it. And that humility is something that gains you the respect that you really deserve. And there's a difference between the respect that you get just because you hold a title and the respect you get for the way you treat people. So if I were to conclude, I'd like to go back to my story of the 8-year-old man. And I think when we navigate, not just in our corporate world, but also in life, it's a good reminder to see ourselves in the future as an 18-year-old and look back and think of the story we want to write.